An alarming new COVID variant raising concerns around the world. The WHO labeling the newly named Omicron variant a variant of concern, first detected in South Africa and quickly spreading. President Biden ordering a travel ban effective Monday for foreign nationals from South Africa and 7 other countries on the continent. Canada, the UK, and EU are issuing similar bans. The president warns there's a lot we still don't know about the variant, which seems to spread rapidly. Scientists warn this new variant could be more transmissible than the Delta strain. It contains a large number of mutations. Dr. Anthony Fauci says it's too soon to tell if it can evade current vaccines. Here in the U.S., health officials on high alert for the new variant. Delta currently makes up nearly all new cases. At least 35 states report an increase in infections, hospitalizations on the rise for 3 weeks in a row. Today, President Biden saying the pandemic will not end until we have global vaccinations. ABC's Trevor Ault leads us off tonight.
Tonight, health officials around the world sounding the alarm about a rapidly spreading new variant first identified in South Africa, B11529, now known as Omicron. The World Health Organization labeling it a variant of concern.
This variant has a large number of mutations, and some of these mutations have some worrying characteristics.
Today, the Biden administration joining more than a dozen other countries, moving swiftly to restrict flights from southern Africa.
We don't know a lot about the variant except that it is a great concern. It seems to spread rapidly.
Early evidence suggests Omicron may pose a higher risk for reinfection, and scientists fear it could be more transmissible than the Delta variant, and the vaccines could be less effective against it, though experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci caution it's too early to know for sure.
Right now you're talking about sort of like a red flag that this might be an issue, but we don't know. Once you test it, you'll know for sure whether or not it does or does not evade the antibodies that we make, for example, against the virus through a vaccine.
Omicron cases have also been detected in Botswana, Israel, Hong Kong, and now Belgium, where an unvaccinated woman with no connection to South Africa tested positive after returning from Egypt. Now officials in Europe, where some countries had already reinstituted restrictions and even lockdowns from a Delta variant surge, are worried Omicron could be even more damaging.
We are concerned that this new variant may pose substantial risk to public health.
Right now, there's no evidence the Omicron variant is in the U.S., but experts believe it's likely just a matter of time.
You were on 2 airplanes?
Yes!
And even after the return of a more traditional Thanksgiving, with millions of families reuniting, America is also seeing troubling signs of a potentially looming winter surge. 35 states and Washington, D.C. reporting cases up at least 10% in the past 2 weeks. And now military teams fanning out to hospitals from Minnesota to Colorado as reinforcements for exhausted healthcare workers.
And everybody who's here working are so tired and frankly very broken individuals, and we don't have a lot left to give.
Healthcare workers just running out of steam. Trevor Ault joins us now. Trevor, there are still so many questions about this new variant, how transmissible it is, if it's more deadly. When can we expect to get those answers?
Well, Lindsay, the World Health Organization says there's already several studies underway in the field right now, and those will take days or weeks to complete. Typically, they can figure out transmissibility fairly quickly as a variant spreads. And Lindsay, we should also mention Moderna says they're already working on possible tweaks to their vaccine just in case. Lindsay?
Trevor, thank you. We know a lot of you have questions about this new variant. Let's get right to Dr. Ashish Jha, Dean of the Brown University School of Public Health. Doctor, thanks so much for joining us tonight. What in the early data on this new variant makes health experts concerned?
Good evening, Lindsay. Thanks for having me here. Couple of things. First is that we're seeing a real takeoff of this new variant very, very rapidly across South Africa and other countries. And second, we're seeing mutations in the virus that are very concerning for how well our vaccines are going to work against it. So both of those things have us concerned.
And Doctor, really a two-part question here. How soon will we know if the new variant is vaccine resistant? And we already know Moderna is tweaking its vaccine booster to fight this new strain. How easily can that be done?
Yeah, so I think we're going to have some preliminary data on how well our vaccines are holding up by early to mid next week. which will be really, really important, and we'll have some of that very quickly. More definitive might take a couple of weeks. You know, the vaccine makers can make tweaks pretty quickly and produce new vaccines probably within a month or two. So I think there are a lot of opportunities here to make changes if we need to.
Does the emergence of the variant only further reinforce the need to ramp up vaccinations globally?
It does. It does. You know, we're not out of this pandemic. Here we are in Thanksgiving. I expect us to see a bump in cases across the U.S. next week. Globally, there's still a lot of places with large outbreaks. We really got to get global vaccinations back on track and people vaccinated.
Dr. Jha, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Civil rights attorney and Fox News contributor Leo Terrell is with us as well. He's joined us throughout this process. He joins us now. Leo, your reaction as you join us by phone.
Thank you for having me on. I'm very glad that justice prevailed. I think most objective lawyers felt that Kyle Rittenhouse had an affirmative defense of self-defense. I think these verdicts are correct. I think Kyle Rittenhouse should never have been charged. I think the prosecution basically made him an example of what happened last year. And I think that outside noise, I'm very proud as a civil rights attorney because the outside noise did not intimidate, did not deter the jury from looking at the facts inside that courtroom, and this is a just verdict. The only people who be upset are those who have a hidden agenda outside the rule of law.
Leo, it's John here. The verdict came down as the White House press briefing was underway. Jen Psaki was asked about it. She said that the White House will try to get a statement out as soon as possible. It will be interesting, Leo, to see what the White House has to say about this, because as you'll recall, during the election campaign in 2020, Joe Biden tweeted out a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse and talked about white supremacists. What's your perspective on what the world saw about Kyle Rittenhouse during this trial versus what the president, when he was a candidate for office, had suggested about him?
Let me give Joe Biden some advice. Be very careful what you say because you're subject to a possible defamation lawsuit. John, I want to be very clear. There's not a single shred of evidence that Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist. This was a statement that Joe Biden is going to have to pay for and justify. And I think the White House, in my opinion, or at least Joe Biden, the candidate at that time, tried to utilize the Kyle Rittenhouse case in his run for the presidency. We are a nation of laws. And at that point when he made that statement, John, he had no facts to make this outrageous allegation of white supremacy. And then you look at what's been going on these other networks where they were talking about this is a case where white man's tears. You saw an 18-year-old young man cry on that witness stand because he honestly believed he was fighting and saving his life. And guess what, John? A jury of his peers said, you're right. You had no other choice but to defend yourself. I'm proud of the jury system as a lawyer for 30 years.
Anyone tuning in now, you see the news on your screen, found not guilty of all charges against him. Kyle Rittenhouse, just 18 years old now. He was 17. You'll remember when he left his home in Antioch, Illinois, when he went to Kenosha, summer of 2020. Leo, what will life be like for Kyle Rittenhouse after this day?
It will never be the same. He won't be the 18-year-old young man who was basically working between living with his mom and his dad, working as a lifeguard. His life has been changed forever. Hopefully, the one great thing he has in his favor is vindication. Now, what he does with this and how his life goes forward is pure speculation. Lawyers don't want to speculate. But I think this is so important. This young man was facing life imprisonment, his life taken away. And basically, the jury said, no, you did nothing wrong, and you are vindicated by basically 3 not guilty verdicts. It's a great day. What he does with his life, only time will tell, Sandra.
So, Leo, many times in cases like this, we would await the defendant, now cleared of all charges and just a civilian, goes back to his day-to-day life, to come out on the front steps of the courthouse and maybe his attorneys speak, or maybe he or she would speak. But the steps of the courthouse are occupied by protesters who have been there pretty much through the entire trial, and certainly through the jury deliberations. And the big question hanging in everyone's mind, Leo, is what happens now that he has been acquitted on the streets of Kenosha? People in that city, particularly businesses, have been sweating it out, wondering what might happen. Will there be a return to the unrest on the streets that we saw in August of 2020? What do you think?
John, I thank you for that question, because you saw groups outside, what I call agitators, Black Lives Matter, for example, outside. Let me be very clear for all the viewers of Fox. Kyle Rittenhouse did not shoot or kill or injure a black person. There were 3 white individuals who were alleged victims. I think if you find disturbance on the street, it is those what I call agitators who want to play the race card, who wants to somehow claim the system's unfair. So I'm hoping that the country accepts the verdict, universal. But I'm not naive. I'm not naive to ignore what happened 12 months ago in Kenosha, or what happened in 2020, the summer of riots. So we're going to have to watch and see. I think it's smart to have National Guard troops there, but the verdict is a confirmation that the legal system works. The question is, will the outside agitators and those, what I consider the left-wing media, will they accept it and tell basically their surrogates not to riot and loot?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.
All right, members of the jury, have you elected a foreperson? Would you give your juror number, please?
54.
54. And has the jury reached a verdict as to each count of the information?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
One verdict and one verdict only?
Yes.
Would you hand all of the paperwork to the bailiff, please?
This is the ones that we didn't know.
Everything?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. May I see that too, please, Mrs. Chairman? Thank you. The defendant will rise and face the jury and hearken to its verdicts.
State of Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse. As to the first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gage Grosskreutz, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
Members of the jury, are these your unanimous verdicts? Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read? Would you wish the jury polled? No. Okay. Okay, folks, your job is done, and we started just about 3 weeks ago. And I told you it could last 2 weeks and 2 days. This is 2 weeks. This is 3 weeks. You were a wonderful jury to work with. You were punctual. You were attentive. And the forgotten six over here who had a very difficult job of keeping from discussing the case during the time that they were sequestered as well. All of you, I couldn't have asked for a better jury to work with, and it has truly been my pleasure. I think, without commenting on your the verdicts themselves, just in terms of your the attentiveness and the cooperation that you gave to us, justifies the confidence that the founders of our country placed in you. So I dismiss you at this time. You're never under any obligation to discuss any aspect of this case with anyone. You're welcome to do so as little or as much as you want. The media have requested, a number of media sources have requested the ability to talk to you, and they have been allowed to present presentations to you that you'll get in writing, and it's entirely up to you whether you want to contact them. They are not to contact you. If anyone does contact you, and just tell them you're not interested in discussing it, if that's the case. And if anyone persists in doing so, report that to us and it will be addressed, I assure you. At the beginning of the trial, there was some concern about information and your safety, and I assure you that we will take every measure to ensure that that is your concerns are addressed and respected. I'm going to talk to you for just a minute, not about anything to do with the case, but just about that sole issue. And you, as I say, you're welcome to discuss the case as little or as much as you want. Any questions, anybody? Thank you so much. And you're after 4 years, you're eligible for service again. It would be my pleasure to work with you. Thank you. Yeah, please. Or in the they can attend in the library. It's not going to be more than a minute, or maybe it will be. Yeah, take them upstairs. That's fine. That's fine. Mr. Richards?
Your Honor, I judgment on the verdicts.
Any word from the state?
The jury has represented our community in this trial and has spoken.
All right, the motion of the defendant is granted. The charges against the defendant on all counts are dismissed with prejudice, and he is released from the obligation of his bond. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good day.
I just sent an email from a bond
So what's up, everybody? It is Zen, and we are back in here with another video. Whew, for the past couple weeks, it has been ridiculous in the media. First off, I want to address this right now. One, I am in full support of the Kyle Rittenhouse's trial and how he got acquitted for all the charges that were stacked against him. If anybody has seen the article, actually looked it up, you would know that he was charged with counts of murder, even though it actually shows that he himself was simply defending himself against people who were trying to attack him, and I believe one of them had pulled out a gun on him, so he had no other choice but to defend himself. Unfortunately, lives were lost, but this is what happens when you sit there and try to attack someone and you do not know what they have on them. A second thing, now, this new variant of the whole T virus. Yeah, that's what I'm calling it now, because we can't say the other thing or else you'll get hit with hate speech. The whole T virus thing that's going around, and people who got the jab are being affected. So, and the whole media, you know, Sleepy Joe, our president, who's trying to pass mandates for workers who don't have the jab, that they're not allowed to come to work. And workers are not taking kindly to that, such as the situation that's happening in New York now, where I believe if not 1,100 or to up to 2,000 sanitation workers have, you know, gone on strike due to this mandate, and as far as 1,100 firefighters have been put on administrative leave because of this. So I just want y'all to understand, just trying to put y'all on some game real quick of the plan that is of the enemy. If you look at it spiritually, you see that Satan is running rampant. He's over here attacking any and everything. His plan is to basically keep all of us divided and keep us in the dark. That's why there's these new quote-unquote variants coming out, and even people who do got the jab are still dropping to these new variants that are bypassing the original jab. So my advice to you all is to stay prayed up, stay in the loop, stay in the know, make sure you do as much research as you can, simply because there is a lot going on right now. And the last thing you want to do is be the last person to find out about everything. Also, another thing, do not believe what the media tells you, simply because the media will try to demonize any truthful information that's going around. For example, if you look at the Kyle Rittenhouse case, they said that if the races were reversed, meaning if he was a black man, he would have done life in prison and any and everything and so on and so forth. And the media demonized him. They tried to say that, he was one of those people that would shoot up schools and everything. It's been a lot. So again, it just goes back to my original point. Do not believe what the media is telling you. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, please do your own research. You can look it up. Everything is out there on the internet. We all have Google. We all have access to the same thing. So everything that I'm telling you, you can sit there and look up the articles that I looked up, and it is backed by everything that I've said. So I want you all to understand that this is just the work of the enemy. If you look at one of the scriptures, it says we battle not against flesh and blood, but of principalities and wickedness in higher places. So if you see things like that, this is just what the enemy is manipulating the masses to do. So like I said before, stay prayed up, stay in the know, stay aware, and stay knowledgeable, because even God says what destroys my people is lack of knowledge. So that's going to be my daily wisdom for today. I will see you guys in the next one.